All right, so my name is Dr. Allie Mendelson, and I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 28 years, and I specialize in looking for the cause of all problems, looking for the cause of all of your problems, instead of just treating symptoms, right? So I do a lot of workshops, and I like to go to different types of topics. And this topic was very interesting because there's a lot of people were very confused by the name of this, which I thought would bring a lot more people in it, because it's a fun title, Coffee, Booze, and Horrorflicks. And it's really about the brain and how your brain functions and how to know if your brain is out of balance and how to see problems coming years away, right? So you want to prevent Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, dementia, and different types of brain disorders. You can see these problems coming years away, right? So, but nobody really understands how their brain functions or their neurotransmitters. So I'm going to try to explain all of that today. People thought we were actually going to watch a horror movie, which would be fun. That would be fun. I'm too scared to watch a horror movie. So here's the problem. So it's not just a problem with people who are older, it's children, right? Well, 1 in 8 seniors develops Alzheimer's. That's a large, large percentage of people. 1 in 8 children is diagnosed with a brain disorder, ADHD, AD, or autism, right? Can you see? So this is a huge problem that spans the generations, right? 24 million people with dementia globally. Thyroid disorders affects 27 million, causing brain fog, depression, anxiety, all that. And anxiety, OCD, sleep disorders, brain fog, depression, moodiness, all of these things have become very common. And so when something becomes very common, people just think, well, you know, whatever, that's just whatever I have. Everyone else has it, I have it, it's normal. It's not normal. It's not normal, it's common. And all of these things, mood swings associated with PMS or menopause, none of this stuff is normal, it's just common. And so you want to always say what is causing this so that we know how to prevent it and how to reverse it, right? But it's a very big problem. Nobody wants to end up like this. And right now with this pandemic and children in schools wearing masks and being distanced and all this stress with everything, there's a lot of depression in everybody, but especially teens, from what I've seen. Like, I think it's tripled. Teen depression and anxiety has tripled this past year. But it's affecting everybody. But antidepressants, even before this, were the most widely prescribed drug in the country. Even before the pandemic, it was 33% of people were on antidepressants. Most of the time, depression is not even caused by a severe emotional trauma. It's not. It's people become depressed. They don't know why they're depressed. If there's a severe emotional trauma, then that's a normal response, and then there's things that you can do to deal with the emotional trauma. But no one looks at that. No one says why. They just throw an antidepressant at you, which is not helping anything. So depression develops when the frontal lobes of your brain don't fire properly. That's really what happens. That's why most people who are depressed, they can't concentrate, they can't focus, you can't remember things. That's the beginning of a lot of these brain issues are those things. You can't concentrate, you can't focus, you can't remember things. And your frontal lobe also gives you a sense of well-being. So without a sense of well-being, you're depressed and you don't know why. You don't know why you don't feel good, right? So any kind of depression that's not associated with a severe emotional trigger, that's a huge red flag that your brain is not functioning properly. And the only person who is going to make any change is going to be you, right? Because the doctor is going to wait. I think that's next. It's like doctors will just wait. Oh, and then wait till it's almost too late and diagnose you with Alzheimer's where you didn't have to even get there. So here's early signs of any kind of brain deterioration. Trouble learning new things. Think about, now, like look at this and see if you have any of these, right? You lose your passion, your motivation. You don't really necessarily enjoy things you used to enjoy. Food, movies, travel, whatever it is. You feel like your balance is off. You can't balance properly. You get lost, or you forget directions. And again, doctors will say, oh, that's normal aging. No, it's not. Your digestion is off because your brain affects your gut. and you just start forgetting words and names. Or you're like, oh, I can't figure out what that word is, right? And again, you're just going to be told that that's normal, but it's not normal. Hold on. Hold on. It's not working. Now it's not working. No, this isn't working. Hold on. This will work. Hold on. Wait. This will work.
The brain of the computer isn't working.
Right. Yeah, no, now it's like, oh, here we go. Hopefully that won't just flash through the. Yeah, it's a little slow. But you know, but what about doctors? Like, oh, I'm just going to wait for my doctor to diagnose me with something. So in the current healthcare model, which healthcare in our country isn't healthcare, is it? It's disease management care, whereas they wait for something to go wrong, wait for you to be sick with something, and then they manage that disease for the many times for the rest of your life. So they'll wait for you to get diagnosed with high blood pressure and then give you blood pressure pills for the rest of your life. They'll wait for you to be full-blown diabetes and then give you insulin for the rest of your life, or dementia, or Alzheimer's, or anything. I mean, just name something. They just wait. Whereas a lot of these things, you can reverse diabetes sometimes in like weeks or a month and get off your insulin. You can prevent all these things, but you can also reverse a lot of these things. But they wait for you, like they'll wait for you to like not even be able to recognize your own family member or don't have any idea where you live, and they'll say, oh, now you have Alzheimer's, even though you had symptoms of brain degeneration years and years before this stage. All the symptoms on the previous slide were symptoms of brain degeneration that should be addressed immediately so that it doesn't get worse. But it's not. It's just ignored. You have to wait till you develop tremors before a doctor diagnoses you with Parkinson's. And it's the same thing. Early signs of Parkinson's are chronic constipation, loss of smell, slowness of movement, slower mental speed, many years before you even develop a tremor. So you have to start looking at these things. So when the doctor waits till the end stages, it's too late sometimes. Not for everything. There's always something you can do. You always try. I mean, certain diseases can be just reversed, like diabetes and high blood pressure, and a lot of these things can be reversed. Some of them can't. Some people, if there's Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, there may already be damage in the brain that could have been prevented, but maybe there's a lot you can do to reduce inflammation and toxicity. I'll talk about a lot of that stuff too. But you never want to wait. Right? You never want to wait. You want to catch this as early as you possibly can, so you prevent it. And it's extremely rare that it just pops up out of nowhere. It doesn't. It doesn't pop up. These neurological diseases are not going to just pop up out of nowhere. They are like signs for years. So you have to learn how to figure this out by yourself and fix yourself. I'll help you do that, but the doctor's not necessarily going to do that, and that's just the way our healthcare system works. So what a neurotransmitter is, so your nervous system, your brain and your nervous system run your entire body, right? For anything to happen in your body, no matter what it is, to have a thought, to lift something up, for your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for a cut to heal, no matter what, to heal from cancer, whatever it is, your brain has to send information through your spinal cord, out your nerves, to every single organ and cell in your body. That's how your body functions. Now, neurons aren't like right next to each other. Neurons have a gap between them. And so they have to communicate with each other. And the way they communicate with each other is through neurotransmitters. A neurotransmitter will be here, and it'll throw the information through that little synapse, and this one, a neurotransmitter here, will catch it. And so the neurotransmitters that you have are going to determine like how your body, how your nervous system functions, how your brain functions, how some people are more dominant in certain neurotransmitters. That's like some of your personality and how you react to things. And so that's what neurotransmitters do. They allow the brain, allow the nervous system to work, allow the neurons to talk to each other. They're just not just like that. They just throw information and catch information. So neurotransmitters control all communication between your brain and your body. They process information for you. They help you overcome anxiety and depression if they're balanced, right? Allow you to fall asleep and to stay asleep. They give you willpower. That's part of your neurotransmitters. Your neurotransmitters are extremely powerful. I mean, anything in your nervous system is extremely powerful. Help you learn new information and remember it and allow you to concentrate on anything. So that's how important neurotransmitters are. Just nobody ever teaches us about them or how they function. So here are the four most common. Dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, and serotonin. Now you probably heard of these, some of them. Maybe you didn't know what they do, but you heard of them. And so I'm going to be going over like information about these neurotransmitters. So I want you to do, I want you to try to figure out which one you're dominant, which one is you. Now there's also a test you can take, but the test takes like 30 to 45 minutes. So you can't do it now, and it's very, very thoughtful. Like you have to answer, like you have to really think about each answer, and that will tell you what neurotransmitter you're dominant in. But honestly, just these basic things will help you figure out which neurotransmitter you're dominant in, because that's going to tell you if you know that you're GABA dominant, you'll know like if your GABA is off, that's going to affect. It's going to affect your personality. It's going to affect your mood. It's going to affect your brain function. All of it. So as you're listening to this, pick out which one you are. So everyone has a dominant neurotransmitters, and they cause you to exhibit behaviors, right? So it doesn't mean you have too much of it. So I'll show you acetylcholine, and it's certain behaviors of acetylcholine. It doesn't mean you have too much acetylcholine. That's just who you are. You have a lot of acetylcholine, so maybe you're like, go get her, and you're like, like intense, like, and GABA, like you're relaxed. It doesn't mean you're out of balance. That part doesn't mean you're out of balance. But then I'll show you what out of balance neurotransmitters looks like. So each neurotransmitter has its strengths and its weaknesses, but it's good to know what you are. So do you understand, like, oh, this is why I'm like that. I want to keep this balanced. So you want to understand your dominant neurotransmitter, learn how to keep it balanced with lifestyle habits, right? This, again, it helps you gain an understanding of who you are, why you react the way you do, and how your brain works and why. Why you do this when your friend does this. Like, why do I do this? Something wrong with me? No, that's just who you are. It's just your neurotransmitter dominance. All right. Dopamine. So now as you watch this, that's something at water. Can you give me a little water? Yeah. We're doing that. Okay, so I want you to read this and try to figure out, am I dopamine? And like read them all and try to figure out what you are. So if you're dopamine dominant, you are very, very strong-willed. I think my 12-year-old might be dopamine dominant. I don't know. He's like that as a baby. You're fast on your feet. You can react. You can like figure things out really quickly. You're very self-confident. You're rational, and you're more comfortable with facts and not emotions or feelings, right? You're overly alert and maybe even hyperactive. You need less sleep, and you're easily bored. All right, so like think about that for a minute. Actually, I do think that's Noah. Now that I'm reading it. Again, this doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. This is like who you are when you're dopamine dominant.
Where do you get these?
Different sources, different medical doctors that are. I'll show you a book. I'll have the book where I got a lot of this information from. But if you just like look up, if all you do is Google like dopamine, it'll tell you all this list of things. But I read about like different doctors and how, that specialize in the brain and treating people with these disorders and like what they looked at and what they did and what they see. So I did a lot of research on it. But you can find this stuff pretty easily. So if you're acetylcholine dominant, you're very tuned into your senses. You're very creative. You're open to new ideas. You can make the best out of any situation, no matter how bad it is. You love routines, but you can be flexible. But you love your routine, but you can be flexible and open and creative, but you really love your routine. You can handle very high intensity, but then you need to like rest and decompress after. Guys, anyone is like, oh, that's me. You enjoy activities involving words, ideas, and communication. You're social, charismatic, and charming. You value relationships, and you love learning new things. So think about that. So again, this tells you, so when you know your dominant neurotransmitter, you'll know if you're out of balance. And if you're out of balance, you can have certain symptoms, and you're going to need to like change your diet, change your lifestyle, supplement, whatever, to get your brain back into balance. That's really all it is. You want to keep your brain balanced so it functions properly. GABA. GABA. So you stay calm. No matter what's going on, you're like, whatever, that's good. Even if it's like total chaos. I mean, it's like if you're acetylcholine, you can have a little GABA, but it's just people have just a dominant neurotransmitter. So you stay very calm. You operate, you're very level-headed when you operate. You're very confident. You don't get swayed easily. You love organization, and you love rigid schedules. You don't want anything uncertain in your life. You like institutions and tradition. You're emotionally stable and slow to anger. You thrive on creating peace and nurturing others, Andrea. You're too relaxed to motivate yourself to exercise, but you can like do like laid back outdoor things, right? That's GABA. And serotonin. A lot of people have heard of serotonin because of the antidepressants. They're like serotonin, you know, whatever they're called, uptake, whatever it is. It affects your serotonin levels, antidepressants. SSRI, right? It's serotonin. So you're very responsive to sensory input. You're impulsive. You want change and novelty. You don't want routine. You like new food, new hobbies, travel. You're drawn to excitement in movies, like horror movies. That's like your serotonin. You like horror movies. You want to skydive. You want to gamble. You're very, very, it has to be very, you're drawn to these excitements. So people who are imbalanced in serotonin will do very, very dangerous activities to like keep that, to like kind of feed that, right? But if you're just balanced, you like, oh, you like horror movies, like my friend Sarah likes horror movies, parties and video games, and you want to gamble, and you mountain climb and rock climb and hunt and skydive, anything extreme if you're serotonin. And so think about what you think you are, right? So here's the online test. You have to Google, if I just go bravermantest.com, sometimes it doesn't come up. But you want to Google Braverman Test. So it takes about 30 to 45 minutes. So anybody at home right now, if you have questions, because I know there's people watching it at home, if you have questions, you just ask questions on the video. I know Christine and Bob are driving to the Outer Banks for 3 weeks right now with Remington, their dog. So no one's jealous or anything about that, but that's what they're doing right now. They're listening to this on their drive. So if you're at home or you're listening to it, doing something fun or exciting, if you're sitting at home, ask me questions on the video. You could take this test. It's very interesting. The questions are very thought-provoking and kind of hard to answer. So take your time when you do it. So I looked at those, and then I figured out what I thought my neurotransmitter was. And then I took the test, and it was definitely that. So, but it's good to take the test, you know. Okay, so now we're going to talk about if you're low in your neurotransmitter, what kind of symptoms you have. And then we're going to talk, so once I go through the 4 neurotransmitters, and I want you to think, do I feel like I'm imbalanced in any of my neurotransmitter, right? And then I'm going to talk about what you need to do to start changing that, and the action steps that you need to take to change that. And really, the action steps to change this is really the same action steps to prevent all of it. So those are just good things to do anyway, but it's good to know if you feel like you're imbalanced in something, there may be some supplements you need to take specifically for that, right? So, but a lot of the lifestyle changes are going to be the same lifestyle changes if you want to prevent cancer and you want to reverse diabetes and heart disease and try to reverse cancer, and right, it's going to be a lot of the same things. Like there's like one way to health. It's not like, oh, if I have diabetes, I do that, and if I have this, I do this. It's really all the same. Like taking care of your body is always the same. And every time I research some new topic, like, oh, I did a class on reversing osteoporosis and rebuilding your bones. And I was like, wow, I'm so excited to learn something really new. And it was all the same exact lifestyle stuff. And then with the brain, I was like, oh, this is going to be like, this is going to be some new stuff. And no matter what I read, I mean, there's definitely new supplements and like specific supplements you can do, and certain foods that affect certain neurotransmitters, but the basics is really the same. So good lifestyle prevents everything. All right, everybody go home. No, I'm kidding. All right, so low dopamine. So read this. So if you're low in dopamine, I know a lot of this is people who are depressed have these symptoms and they don't know what it is, and they don't know what they can do to fix it, and they just think they have to take an antidepressant, or they're just depressed, or whatever it is. But this is very, very common. Hopelessness, worthlessness, just an inability to handle stress, self-destructive thoughts. You snap for no reason. You become angry and aggressive under stress, and then you feel guilty for losing control. Desire to isolate. An unexplained lack of concern for family or friends. Sounds like depression, right? I mean, different types of depression are different. You're easily distracted. You can't complete tasks. You just don't want to finish anything. You need coffee to just function and stay alert. You indulge in foods that give you immediate pleasure, because dopamine is like the pleasure neurotransmitter. So when you eat sugar, it releases dopamine. When you look on social media and somebody likes something, it releases dopamine. When you do drugs, it releases dopamine. That's why people become addicted to drugs, is because it releases dopamine. Right? Heroin and cocaine will have almost the same effect in your brain as sugar does. And so you indulge because you get that pleasure burst of like, dopamine, pleasure, but then it doesn't last because you have low dopamine, you're out of balance. So the main symptom is really a lack of motivation to do anything, even the things that you love to do. So you're just like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I used to love that, but I don't want to do anything. You're probably low in dopamine. And low dopamine is like, it causes addictions. So people who are addicts are many times low dopamine. So they're drugs, alcohol, gambling, sugar, the internet. All these things release dopamine, and if you have any kind of addiction, you want to look towards fixing your dopamine, but not with medication. Medication doesn't fix this. You have to change your lifestyle, you have to maybe take some supplements, but medication is not going to fix this stuff. Low acetylcholine. Hold on. This is the most important neurotransmitter for converting short-term memory to long-term memory. So many times people with early Alzheimer's, that's their problem, or even like mid-stage, is that you'll remember what you did you'll remember what you did 40 years ago, but you don't remember what you did an hour ago. That's an early sign of Alzheimer's, and that's an acetylcholine issue. So it converts short-term memory into long-term memory. So this is early signs of, this has to be dealt with immediately. If you have this issue, like, you have to deal with this immediately. Any kind of short-term memory issue, you have to deal with immediately. That's a sign that Alzheimer's is coming, and you can prevent it. Loss of visual and photographic memory, right? So you forget what something, you can look at something and not even remember what it is. Or a verbal memory where you don't know what a word is, or you forget names and you forget words, or you don't know what they mean. Any kind of memory lapse, like you lose periods of time. Impaired, if you're very creative and now you're not creative anymore, like you just can't figure out, right, what you used to do. Like maybe you used to knit and now you just don't even know what to do, or you don't care, whatever it is, you have loss of creativity. You just don't know how to comprehend things. You like lose your ability to learn, really. Trouble calculating numbers or recognizing people's faces or objects. A slow mental response. Difficulty with directions and spatial orientation, and just a difficulty in learning new things. This is low acetylcholine, and these are the early signs of Alzheimer's. Acetylcholine people are like sometimes the smartest people, only because they just love to just learn new things, right? And so, but this is the most likely to develop into like into Alzheimer's just because of how that works. And again, you always want to see this coming early and prevent it. So is this guy, you guys figuring out what you are, maybe? Yeah. It's not complicated. It's easy. It's amazing. Like, oh, that's me. I thought there was something wrong with me, or I thought, right? It's not. Right? It's good to recognize it. All right, low GABA, feeling, so this is more like an anxiety. Oh, you have anxiety, and then they give you a medication which makes it worse. Even if it doesn't make it worse right away, it will make it worse because it's not going to address the problem. But this is where like an anxiety comes in. These are anxious people if you're low in GABA, and GABA is calming. So you have anxiousness, dread, panic, like inner tension that you don't even understand. And like very, very excitable, like you're just overwhelmed. You don't even know why. Like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. Like, well, there's nothing happening. And you're like, ah, that feeling. You're like your restless mind. Like maybe you wake up in the middle of the night and your mind is like racing and you can't stop it. That's why people take GABA before they sleep. But like take GABA and GABA just calms your brain. If you've ever taken GABA and it's made you worse, like made your heart race, then there's something else going on. I'm not going to address it here, but that's something that happens to people. So it's hard to turn your mind off no matter what you're doing. Even if you want to relax or sleep, your mind just goes. You can't focus. It's ADD. You're like, attention is everywhere. You worry about things you never even thought of before. Like, why am I worrying about that? Stupid. What am I worrying about that for? You take on too many things, you're late and distracted. So these people are given anti-anxiety medication, but that will make your problem worse. It's not going to fix you. It's actually going to make it worse. A lot of these medications will make everything worse. There's a time and a place for certain medications, but it's not like, oh, you have a symptom, take this for the rest of your life. That's not how that works. And you always want to look, you want that to be a last resort. Or maybe like with high blood pressure, oh, well, let me take the high blood pressure medication so that I don't drop dead of a heart attack while I fix my underlying problem. So maybe you need to take something short term because you can't even function, but you have to always address the underlying issue because nothing ever gets better if you don't address the underlying issue. Medication is not going to fix it. And low serotonin. So low serotonin, loss of pleasure in hobbies, like you just don't like doing anything anymore. You just don't, nothing makes you happy, right? Anything that used to be interesting to you or your hobbies or activities, you're not interested. You have feelings of inner rage, paranoia, and anger. Depression, this is a different type of depression. Like you're depressed, like difficulty finding joy, finding any joy. There's joy. Feel worse on a cloudy day or in the winter when there's a lack of sunlight. So I have a lot of people that, oh, my wife, she can't even, we have to move because she gets so incredibly depressed, she can't even function in winter. And it's not necessarily a lack of vitamin D. It could be low serotonin. So maybe you feel that way, but you don't have to move to Florida. I mean, you can move to Florida. But you don't have to move to Florida. You can fix these problems so you can, live where you want to live. A lot of these times people will. I know people who've done that. They've moved somewhere sunny and it doesn't help because it's not the issue. It's not the underlying issue, right? But you do feel worse when it's cloudy or in lack of sunlight. Your brain loses function when it's dark or cloudy. It just doesn't function. You don't have any joy in anything. Food, friendship, relationships. You just don't find any joy in anything and you can't sleep. This is the most common cause of most depression. Most depression will feel, people depressed will feel this way. With a dopamine also. So this is the people who say, I have a great life, I have everything, and I have no joy in any of it. And then you're low serotonin. So everything could be going great, and you don't know why you aren't happy. All right, we're going to talk about how to balance your brain. The overall things you can do. These things anyone should do no matter what. You want to prevent any of this stuff from ever starting, you do these things. And then more specific things that you could do for each neurotransmitter. You guys good so far? All right. It's always sugar, isn't it? No matter what it is. No matter what I research, no matter what I study, no matter which doctors I read, no matter if I read every different doctor on any different subject, sugar is like the root of all of it. So when I was reading about the brain, I had all these different doctors talking about all these different ways of looking at things. And the first thing that every one of them did, I'm not like 99%, like 100% of these testimonials and doctors I read, these aren't natural doctors, these are neurologists, these are medical doctors that specialize in the brain, these are all these different types of doctors. Balance blood sugar, stop sugar. Like oh, someone comes in with like this brain issue, they can't, whatever it is, like we talked about, stop sugar, balance your blood sugar. You have to have stable blood sugar to have a healthy functioning brain. That's it. That's it. Without stable blood sugar, you cannot have a healthy functioning brain. An imbalance in your blood sugar causes increased, so if you have an imbalanced blood sugar, you're going to have a lot of energy after you eat. I don't know if anyone feels that way. Like, oh, I have so much energy now. It's not going to last, but you're going to have energy after you eat. You're going to crave sweets. You're going to be very irritable if you have an imbalance in your blood. If you eat too much sugar or too many carbs, you're just going to be irritable if your blood sugar gets out of balance. Most people have blood sugar out of balance. Because most people eat too many carbs and sugar, and they don't eat enough healthy fats and all that, right? So most people eat too much sugar and too many processed carbs. Dependence on coffee and sugar for energy. So you need sugar. You have to like, oh, I need sugar so I could finish my day at work, or I need coffee because I can't think without coffee. You have a blood sugar issue. You could be lightheaded. You eat to relieve this fatigue that you have, this unbelievable fatigue. You can't even function. Do you ever people sit at their desk and fall asleep after lunch? It's because they probably ate too many sugar and carbs for lunch, and now their brain is shutting down. You feel shaky or jittery or agitated, nervous, easily upset and emotional, bad memory, blurred vision, bouts of depression, angry outbursts. I mean, it goes on and on and on with sugar. So these are imbalances of sugar. So glucose is the main energy source for your brain. That's what your brain needs. So when you eat sugar or carby foods, you cause this roller coaster. It's like a lot of glucose, no glucose, a lot of glucose, no glucose, right? So when you don't eat sugar, your blood sugar is basically like this. Maybe you go like this. But when you eat sugar, there's highs and then there's lows. And when there's a low, what do? You eat more sugar, and then you get more highs and more, like higher highs and lower lows. So having low blood sugar, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to eat sugar when I feel that way, because that's going to give you more highs and more lows. It's stopping sugar and stopping carbs, because carbs turns to sugar. That's going to even out your brain and even out your blood sugar. So your brain is always getting like the right amount of glucose, right? Not too little and not too much. 1 million reasons why sugar is bad. I should do like a whole video on that. So when it's too low, you're just depriving your brain of glucose. When you deprive your brain of glucose, you're just going to literally, like your brain is just going to degenerate. You're just going to lose brain cells, lose neurons by depriving your brain of glucose. And you're going to cause inflammation, which causes even more problems. And so when you're depriving, so your brain can't function properly, and you don't make the right neurotransmitters when you don't have enough glucose. Just everything's going to be off. So it causes degeneration of your brain cells. Every time you have low blood sugar, you have degeneration in your brain. Yes?
Can you explain how glucose is different than sugar, because it's still a sugar?
It's just like the basic building block of sugar. So like almost all sugar is just glucose. But then you have like a carbohydrate that's like has more different, like it's a complex carbohydrate. But when you put a complex carbohydrate in your mouth, the enzymes break it down to glucose. So it's like eating bread is the same thing as eating a spoonful of sugar in that way. It's just the basic building block of sugar. You can have, all sugar is bad. Fruit isn't so bad for some people. It can cause inflammation in your brain. It doesn't feed cancer or anything. But it's like, all right, so maybe fruit and vegetables are like more, I would call them complex carbohydrate. Fruits and vegetables, right? Maybe not white potatoes or even sweet potatoes. That's not a complex carbohydrate. They're like really like very, very high glycemic and turn right to sugar. But if you have even like whole wheat bread or 10-grain bread, You put that in your mouth and those enzymes, they start digesting that right away into sugar, into glucose. And it's going to cause a release of insulin. So even brown rice and whole wheat bread and all that, it really just goes right to sugar. So like salad and broccoli and kale and, you know, some like low sugar fruits. Like some fruits are really high in sugar. You like mango or papaya. It's like you can just feel it's like, whew. Not that that's bad. Just don't want to eat that every single day, which you're not supposed to because it doesn't. If it doesn't grow here, even if you're living somewhere it grows, it's not going to be available every day for the whole year anyway, right? We're not supposed to constantly eat these things. It's not even available to you. But if you want to eat mangoes during mango season or whatever, berries are fine. I would think like berries and apples. Those are like salads, and vegetables are like complex carbohydrates where they do break down slower. There is fiber in there, and it doesn't break down the same way or cause the same type of inflammation in your body, or it doesn't cause the same kind of release of insulin. Well, if you're diabetic, you want to not do that because you don't want anything turning to any sugar. But bread and pasta and cake and whole wheat pasta and whole grain and brown rice, that just turns right to sugar. And it also causes a lot of inflammation. And inflammation is like another like fuel that is for your brain. If your brain gets inflamed, you can have degeneration of your brain and mess up your neurotransmitters.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, inflammation in the brain is extremely dangerous because a lot of these things cross the blood-brain barrier. And inflammation in your brain leads to your neurons rapidly dying. And a lot of, you know, even MS and all these other brain degeneration issues are from inflammation. You know, and sugar is not the only thing that causes inflammation. It's the big one. There's other things that cause inflammation in your brain. I'll get to those.
What can stop the inflammation?
Stop
Are there
eating the
things like
stuff.
foods?
You have to stop eating the bad stuff, honestly. And there's certain things that you can do to detox. Like there's certain supplements to detox. But really, if you stop eating the bad things and you just start exercising and getting more oxygen to your brain, because like exercising gets oxygen to your brain. It's like the opposite effect of like losing brain cells. And reading and staying away from a screen and like reading a book will help your brain. Really, but really don't just stop putting in toxicity. Toxins inflame your brain. So just stop putting bad things in, start putting good things in, like healthy fat nourishes your brain. Like, you know, organic eggs are like full of like these great omegas. It's like super good for your brain. And then they'll say, oh, you can't eat eggs because of the cholesterol. No, your brain is made 85% cholesterol. So you don't want to stop eating fat. You want to stop eating sugar and you want to eat healthy fat. And that reduces inflammation. Omegas reduce inflammation. Like fish oil, like all that cod liver oil, that reduces inflammation in your brain. Frankincense essential oil crosses your blood-brain barrier and reduces inflammation in your brain.
The omega-3s?
Omega-3s and frankincense,
What if you're...
avocados. So doctors call Alzheimer's diabetes 3. That's what they call it. And they've been calling it that for years. I bet you've never heard that. Maybe some people have. Have you heard it? Yeah. It's because sugar causes Alzheimer's. Doctors know that. It's in the medical journals. But has one doctor ever told, besides me, has any doctor ever told you to stop eating sugar to prevent Alzheimer's? Or even someone who's losing their memory, has the doctor ever said, oh, stop eating sugar? No. I mean, maybe once in a while. It's very rare. But that's what they call it. All these neurologists say, oh, Alzheimer's is just diabetes. That's all it is. Right, because eating sugar or carbs causes spikes up and down. But if you just eat, you get enough sugar by eating like salad. Honestly, you don't need sugar in your diet. You need to eat vegetables. You know, protein, your body will convert protein to glucose when your brain needs it. But if you have too much sugar, it's going to override that. It just spikes up and down, spikes, spikes, spikes. It's like, maintaining balance. Like, so maintaining a balance means really don't eat sugar. It's not like eat some sugar. It's like don't eat sugar. Like, honestly, like, especially in this culture where like we just grow up, all we eat is pasta and bread, and you're just so out of balance this way. The only way to balance that out is to like be extreme on this way, and then you're like in the middle. Like at some point you can eat some sugar. You're not going to want to once you stop eating it. Does that make sense? We're just looking at the highs and the lows. All right, okay, here's what you can do for sugar. Stop eating sugar and carbs. Okay, that's what you can do. or just massively decrease your intake to less than 30 grams a day. It's like you go into a state of ketosis, so you burn fat for energy, so you don't crave sugar. That's what ketosis is. Your body is naturally wants to just burn fat for energy. That's what we're supposed to do. But if you eat too much sugar, it burns sugar for energy and not burn any fat. But you want to burn fat for energy because fat is a great fuel for your body. It's like a super fuel. Sugar is a dirty, filthy fuel for your body. It's a disaster. It's like putting like the worst gas in your car as compared to putting the best gas in your car. So your body wants to burn fat. So that's why you go on a ketogenic diet. That will normalize your blood sugar. That's why you do it. You don't do it to lose weight. I mean, some people do. It's not like this weird diet where you get into this weird state. Our natural state is ketosis. Burning sugar for energy instead of ketones is a weird state of disease and destruction. That's really, and that's our modern way we eat. I mean, you don't have to like believe me. Look around. You know, people are dying of constantly. How many people are obese? How many? You know, over 44% of people have diabetes, heart disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol issues. That's a sugar issue. Alzheimer's is 1 in 8 people. Children, 1 in 8 kids have a neurological disorder. So you don't have to like listen. You can look around and see how sick people are. They're not. It's not working. Whatever we're doing isn't working. So you have to just don't do that. Like don't do what they're doing because it's not working. So there are supplements to help you with your sugar cravings. So GX Assist is like this essential oil pill, and there's all these essential oils in it, and it puts a little bomb in a good way in your colon, in your digestive system, and it kills the yeast and the bad bacteria that actually causes you to crave sugar. When you crave sugar, you're feeding mold in your colon. That's what you're doing. It's mold, and mold likes sugar. Like that's what yeast is. It's a fungus. It's a mold, and it puts these little tendrils in there, and it's like, I want sugar, and then you eat sugar, and it relaxes, and you feel better. But really, what you're doing is feeding a fungus in your colon. So when you do this, when you take the GX Assist, it will get rid of that physical craving. Now you may have an emotional craving for sugar, but you have to just like not eat it. I mean, like, you want to be better? It's not hard to give it up. You just have to decide, like, I'm not eating that anymore because I'm just not. I did that 11 years ago. I stopped eating sugar. And it was hard, like the beginning. Like the first time I said, I'm not eating that ice cream when we were out at this ice cream place in Maine with the cows and everything. I was like, I wouldn't eat the ice cream cone. And I was like, it took all my acetylcholine willpower to like not eat that ice cream cone. And in 5 minutes, everyone was done with it, and I didn't eat it. And I was like, that was awesome. Like I totally did that. And then it was easy from there. So it's going to be hard, and then it's easy. It's almost too easy. Like the amount of willpower you have when you get sugar out of your life, it's amazing. So chromium also helps with sugar cravings because it helps stabilize blood sugar. Vitamin E, alpha-lipoic acid, ALA, all helps stabilize blood sugar. It's not going to stabilize blood sugar if you eat sugar, though. I mean, if you eat a little bit of sugar, but you can't like change it, like leave your diet as it is and then just take 10 supplements. It's not going to override it. But it does help when you're giving up sugar to help you with your blood sugar so you don't have the cravings. Magnesium, zinc, and L-carnitine is just an amino acid found in large quantities in grass-fed beef and pastured pork. That will help with your cravings. So instead of eating sugar, eat a steak, or eat a pork chop, or eat a hamburger. It'll help your blood sugar. It'll help your sugar cravings, and it'll feed your brain good fat. Exercise. Exercise. It's the greatest thing you can ever do is to exercise. 30 minutes, 3 times a week or more. But that's it. You want to be out of breath and you want to be sweating. I don't care what you do. Do whatever you want. Go skydiving, go for a walk in the woods, dance, whatever. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you do. It just matters that you're out of breath and you're sweating. And then you're getting oxygen to your brain. That's all it is. Clean your house. I don't know. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Sleeping is good. So sometimes, many times, if you're tired, your brain will think you're hungry, but you're not hungry, you're tired. So take a nap. Do you ever take a nap and then you wake up and you're like, oh, I am like not hungry at all? Like, do you ever feel like that when you wake up from a nap? Like, I don't want to eat anything. That's because you just kind of settled down all your transmitters and you got what you needed, and now you're not hungry, you don't want to eat. But before the nap, you probably wanted to eat something. So next time you're hungry, take a nap. And get adjusted. Adjustments, chiropractic adjustments, balance your blood sugar, balance your immune system, balance your nervous system, balance your neurotransmitters, because it affects the brain and the spinal cord. So when people get adjusted, it's much easier for them to get off sugar. It's much easier to balance all these things out because we're not fighting against something else. So sleep, get adjusted, exercise, eat healthy. It's all like very basic things, right?
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
On the adjustments, ongoing adjustments?
Well, it just depends on what you need. Like if you're good, you need once a month, twice a month to like maintain a healthy nervous system. If you have issues, we maybe see more at first. It just depends on like what I see on your x-rays. It's all based on like subjective findings, like objective findings, like what do I see? And then we fix your spine and then you maintain a healthy spine. That's really all it is. So it just depends. Everyone is different. Like I get adjusted every week or like 3 times a month because I'm very active and I'm always like running around and leaning over people. So I personally get adjusted like 3 or 4 times a month. But some people need once a month, some people need twice a month at the most, right? Here's something else that nobody wants to hear, is stop eating gluten. Okay, so I tell a lot of people to stop eating gluten. If someone has a digestive issue, if someone has anxiety, if someone has skin rashes, I'm like, you should stop eating gluten, see what happens. But let me tell you, when I did this research from the brain and read all these different books, it is so much worse than I ever thought it was. It is so much worse than I ever even thought it was. And I tell everyone to stop doing it, and I didn't even know how bad it was. That's how bad it is. Everyone should just stop eating it. It doesn't give you anything good. Like if you live in Italy, that's different wheat. If you want to go move to Italy, you can be like, have celiac disease and go to Italy and eat pasta. It's not the same. But here, I don't care if you import it from there. They don't send the same stuff over here. If you're living over there, that's fine. But you live here, you have to stop eating gluten. Just go gluten-free. There's so many good gluten-free stuff. You don't want to just, I don't think you should eat any grains or packaged foods at all, except sometimes. But you want to read your ingredients. So if you're just eating a lot of wheat and you're like, and you just need to stop eating wheat, just do whatever you need to do to get off wheat, and then you can like get better and better and better. Or you can, some people just like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to go right to keto, whatever it is, however you need to get there. So, but it's always good to read the ingredients. And if you look at the ingredient list and it's like this long, I mean, there's chemicals in there. I don't know what's in there. But when you eat gluten-free, like we have Banza pasta, which is made from chickpeas and tapioca flour. Yeah, that's fine, because chickpeas is not a grain. It's carbs, but it's like, but it's from a, right, but it's still like from a chickpea, which is a little better. But if you need to get off gluten, if you're doing gluten and eating all this wheat, you got to get off that. So even if you're not perfect, you got to get off that and eat Banza pasta. That's better than eating wheat. Like not everybody can be like, all right, I'm done. I'm going from here to here. Not everybody can do that. People need like steps. So get off, like go to Banza pasta or the lentil pasta or the cauliflower pizza or whatever you need to do to get off the wheat is so damaging to your brain. Even if you don't have any digestive issues from wheat, it's extremely damaging to your brain. I don't know if there's anything worse for you besides sugar than gluten. I think this might actually be worse. There's no food is a more powerful trigger of neurological issues and autoimmune disease than wheat. And gluten is just the protein in wheat, right? So it affects your brain more than your gut. So some people like eat gluten and they get a stomach ache and they get bloated. But a lot of people just get really irritable and really angry and depressed, and they have no idea why or whatever it is, whatever their symptom is, and that's wheat. And they don't have any digestive issue, so they don't think it's a food issue, but it is a food issue. So there's so many symptoms that it causes that you just stop eating it. You just stop eating it. But then eat it once in a while. Like you might have it might affect you. But if you want to eat it once in a while, that's up to you, you know. It is going to affect your brain. It's going to deteriorate your brain. But some people can eat, like here and there, you can eat some, and some people get sick and some people don't, you know. So anyway, it should not be a regular part of anyone's diet. All right, so supplements. So now we're going to go through all 4 neurotransmitters, right? So there's different supplements for if you're dopamine imbalance. So if you knew that you have a dopamine imbalance, there's a bunch of supplements that can help you. And some of these supplements are for all neurotransmitters. Like glutathione is included in all the neurotransmitter supplements because glutathione takes toxins out of your brain and detoxes your brain cells and your cells in your body too. So glutathione is something I just take 3 times a week. I've been doing it for years because it helps your brain detox. And toxicity is a bit, I'm not even getting into brain toxicity, it's too long. But there's a lot of toxins from foods and from environmental stuff and all these things that get into our brain and cause inflammation and mess up our neurotransmitters. So glutathione is like across the board, no matter what anyone did, it was always glutathione to detox your brain. So it's a very simple thing to do. You don't even need to do it. You can do it every day at first, then maybe 3 times a week. Turmeric also turmeric crosses the blood-brain barrier and reduces inflammation in your brain. That's a great thing to take. It reduces inflammation in your whole body too, but definitely in your brain.
Question about
Yeah.
turmeric, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Is that acidic, like cause inflammation, like if you have?
No. Because it's just a spice. No.
It's okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Turmeric is fine. And it's just a spice. You can even use it as a spice. You can take a supplement, you know. So those are 2 basic things that are like everywhere. But like, so mucinapurins, it's been used for decades for any kind of neurological disease in Europe. I think we have that here. I think Kat was ordering all this stuff, but
What is that, like a
it's like an herb.
pill?
Yeah, it's like an herb, but I think it's in a pill form. If we don't have it, we'll order it. So, I know. I never heard of it before this, but this is what they use in Europe for any kind of neurological disease. PEA is just a compound found in raw chocolate. So just eat raw cocoa. You can get a raw chocolate bar. We sell raw chocolate. You can just get raw cocoa powder. You can get raw cocoa powder and mix it with some monk fruit or baked brownies, whatever, with it, and it has this compound in it for your dopamine. But I put raw cocoa powder in a smoothie, and it tastes like chocolate. It's great. I don't like raw cocoa bars. I think they're too intense. Some people like them. So here's some supplements, specific cognoid, lipoic acid supreme, and those are just specific supplements that have like a bunch of different things in it for dopamine. So you can just get 1 or 2 supplements. NAC, you guys have heard of NAC? N-acetylcholine. NAC strengthens your lungs, and it helps your immune. It helps you detox, and it helps you fight viruses. And the Amazon recently stopped selling it. You can't get it on Amazon, and they're trying to make it they're trying to make it so that you can't get the supplement anywhere. And then because it strengthens your lungs and helps you fight viruses. I don't know. They've been using it. It's been used for years and years and years, and it's extremely effective for strengthening your lungs, fighting viruses, and detoxing. And it was one of the things we added to our supplements at the beginning when this virus came out because it helped a lot of people. And we read a lot about it, but now you can't even get it on Amazon, won't even sell it anymore. So you know it must be good if they're trying to hide it, right? So all of these protect ALA, right? All of these, they protect the areas of the brain that produce dopamine, so it allows your body to produce a proper amount of dopamine. Amino acid powder, I take amino acid powder every day. Just gives you more, it gives you more protein, but all of these amino acids allow your brain to restore balance. You get all the different amino acids that you need because some are essential, some are non-essential. Some you have, some are in meat and some aren't. Some you make and some you don't. Amino acid powder is a great thing to add to your daily routine. Vitamin B is in a lot of these too. Vitamin B just helps your body deal with stress. And for dopamine, methylated B12, folate, and magnesium helps with the breakdown and the clearance of dopamine. Like when you use up dopamine, your body has to get rid of it to make new, fresh, good quality dopamine. So magnesium, folate, and methylated B12 will clear out old, gross dopamine from your brain. So here are the foods to eat. Meat, grass-fed beef, pastured pork, pastured chicken. Don't just get meat from the store that has antibiotics and hormones and steroids in it. That's going to imbalance you and cause more toxins. Just get clean food. So grass-fed meat, wild fish, not farm-raised fish, organic eggs, raw organic dairy, and dark chocolate.
The beef in the store, is that all,
Unless it says
not
grass-fed,
grass-fed, they force feed it grain?
yeah, they grain feed it. And so if
All
it's,
grain?
yeah, unless it says grass finished, it's all fed grain. Now when you feed a cow grain, it makes them sick. So they need antibiotics. You want to make sure that they don't die before they slaughter them. So they give them growth hormones so they get big really fast, so they don't die before slaughter time. And they use steroids and all that stuff for that, so they get really big. So you can have all kinds of hormones and steroids and antibiotics and all this junk in there. Just eat grass-fed beef. So that's all how to balance dopamine. Meat and fish and eggs and good quality grass-fed dairy and grass-fed cheese and any kind of dairy that's grass-fed is just eat that. And like some people are sensitive to dairy, but a lot of people aren't. And oxygen for dopamine. So stop smoking. Exercise to increase oxygen to your brain, because smoking decreases oxygen to your brain. Exercise increases oxygen to your brain. And stress will decrease oxygen to your brain. So just reduce your stress by like exercising and stopping sugar. No. And whatever you need to do to decrease stress, right? Stop the gluten. You don't realize like how like these things that you eat and put in your body like create this cortisol effect where you're like just stressed you don't even know why.
So if you were to stop this stuff and go to a diet, would you say to somebody, let's do it for 3 months or 1 month? What time frame would you give somebody to say, just do it and see how different it feels?
You have to do it until you feel better.
All right, so there's no like time frame you give.
No, it depends. It depends. Everyone's different.
Like a non-believer says, well, just try for 3 months, come back.
Okay, try for 3 months. But add exercise.
I'm not saying I'm
No, that's fine. But no, I'm saying, if someone's like, that's stupid. I'm like, I'll say try for 3 months. This doesn't work for everybody. I have a patient who did all this stuff, but when he went raw vegan is when he got better. But that's not for everybody. And it's very, very rare that makes people better. But this, like 90 some, I don't want to give a number, a large percentage of people will just get better eating this way. And all different spectrums of whatever chronic issue they have. So try it for a few months, That's a good question. Okay, now foods for acetylcholine. So if you remember, if you were acetylcholine imbalanced, Cogna8, I think that's what it's called. There's like supplements that we have here. You can take pictures of this and look for it. If we don't have it, we'll order it. We don't have, I don't know how many we have. So this contains L-huperzine A, which is a proven effective aid for memory, cognition, and Alzheimer's. It's just a nutrient. I take magnesium, so amino acid powder, right? That just helps all neurotransmitters. Magnesium L-threonate. I did a video on magnesium like a couple of months ago. All different kinds of magnesium. This kind of magnesium I started taking because I started forgetting words. I'd be like, wait, what is that word? And I'm not worried about it because my mom has always been like that her whole life, where she just makes up her own words for things. Or like restaurant, it was like this name, and she just always called it whatever name. She always forgot it. But my mom is 84 now and has 0 memory loss. So I'm not worried, but I don't like it. I don't like having to think about a word I'm going to say. Maybe I talk too fast. I don't know. Slow down, maybe I'll remember my words. But I started taking magnesium L-threonate because that's something that I felt like I could measure. Like I was noticeably like forgetting words. Not all the time, but I was. I was like, because sometimes I take all these supplements and I don't know if something helps me because I just feel good all the time. But this, I took this and I was like, I'm noticeably not forgetting words.
What was that?
Magnesium L-threonate. And so I was like, that is something that I can measure, and I did notice a big difference. I take it every night before I go to sleep. It's definitely helped my memory. B-complex, because that helps with stress. Glutathione detoxes your brain. Probiotic, I should have put in all of them. You always want to there's a gut-brain connection that I could spend an hour talking about, so I didn't include it. But your brain communicates with your gut, and your gut communicates with your brain. So you want a healthy gut. That's why bad food can cause anxiety. So you want to have, that's why you want to eat healthy, like if you eat all the good food that I'm saying, all the stuff, the meat and the healthy fat and the eggs and, get rid of some processed food. It's going to help your gut, and it's going to in turn help your brain. But probiotics helps your gut, which in turn helps your brain. And most people should take a probiotic every day. Turmeric again, and foods for specifically for acetylcholine is organ meats, liver, any kind of organ meat, egg yolks. Never eat the egg whites only. Never do that. That is the worst thing you can do. The egg yolk is the healthy part for your brain. The white is really just like carbs. So the yolk, it's a little bit of protein, but really the yolk is the most important part of the egg. Like, you never not eat the yolk. That's really good for your brain. Any kind of grass-fed beef, nuts, grass-fed cream, any kind of raw milk, raw fatty cheeses. Low-fat diet has caused so many brain disorders. You don't want to ever eat a low-fat diet. You want to eat good quality fat, like pastured chicken wings dipped in butter, like floating in butter. That's good for your brain and your body, and it's good for you. Not if you bread it with wheat. Don't do that. Just like fry it, like, you can cook it and put butter on it. And spices are also really good for your brain. Like fatty steak, like good quality steak, fatty fish. That stuff is good for your brain and good for your body and helps nourish you. Those are the things you want to eat. Heavy cream, that's grass-fed. You want to eat that stuff. But this is, you can take a picture, but everyone's going to get this if you want a copy of it. Here's for GABA. Insomnitol. So insomnitol is a supplement. I keep it by my bed. There's a chewable one. And if I wake up and I'm like, my mind is like, I just pop one. I do this like every few months maybe. And it helps to put me back to sleep. It balances my GABA. But it contains valerian root, passion flower extract, 5-HTTP, and this all calms you, helps you sleep, helps balance your GABA. Because if you're GABA imbalanced, your anxiety, this will calm anxiety properly. I know somebody asked, I'll get to it after actually. Magnesium is also extremely calming. Zinc is extremely calming, but it's also good for your immune system. L-theanine is also a supplement that is calming for your brain and for your body. Some people feel anxiety in their brain, like, and some people feel like anxious in their body. L-theanine is like when you have that like anxiety feeling in your body. Amino acid powder and glutathione, because toxicity very specifically reduces GABA. So if you're toxic, you're going to have low GABA and anxiety. So this is really important for if you have a GABA issue, is glutathione. You take a picture of that. And serotonin. Now with serotonin, people talk about melatonin. Like, oh, you've heard of melatonin. If you're imbalance, if you have low serotonin, many people say, oh, they take melatonin to sleep. Melatonin makes it worse. Don't take melatonin if you have a serotonin imbalance. And don't take antidepressants, right? If you have a serotonin imbalance, it makes it all worse. But some people take melatonin and now they can't sleep at all. It'll have the opposite effect. It's not something I recommend. It's something maybe to take here and there once in a while. But if you're having trouble sleeping, don't take melatonin every night to help you sleep. It's going to make the problem worse. We have to look at, everyone's going to be a little different. Everyone's going to have their own thing that they need to like maybe make an appointment and discuss like exactly what's going on. Some stuff maybe needs to be tailored. This is like basics. This is all the real basic stuff, right? So methylated B12. Some people can't process B12. It has to be methylated. Have you guys heard of that? Yeah. Look it up. It's really interesting. You get a lot of good B12 when you eat good meat. So just eat good meat. And you may not need that. I always like eating good food instead of supplementing. But I do take supplements because certain things just aren't in our food supply. Magnesium is not in our food chain. It's not in our soil. So the cows don't get it when they eat grass, right? And we don't get it from our vegetables. So everyone should take magnesium. So there's certain things that everybody needs to take. I would rather have you eating the good food and taking less supplements, right? St. John's wort is great for serotonin imbalance, but don't take it every day. Take it for 2 weeks on, a month off, 2 weeks on, a month off. Iron for serotonin balance. A lot of people with serotonin imbalance will have low iron. Again, turmeric, probiotic, and glutathione, kind of same with everything. For gut, for toxicity, for inflammation. Magnesium and zinc, again, something a lot of people are deficient in. It's calming, it's good for immune system. Amino acid powder. And the foods are shrimp, halibut, chicken that's pastured, turkey that's organic, lamb. I think there's mostly lamb that's just organic, right? Grass-fed beef, liver, salmon, spinach. These are all for serotonin. And don't take melatonin if you're deficient in serotonin. It will definitely make you worse. You guys can write that, or again, you can. If you give us your email, Joy will email this to everybody. There's a lot. And get adjusted. But nothing helps you balance your brain like an adjustment, because your brain communicates with your organs through your spinal cord. If you have a bone pressing into your spinal cord, your body's not going to function properly. An adjustment takes pressure off your spinal cord, so the brain, spinal cord, and nerves, there's no interference. You don't want to interfere with that. You interfere with that, you're interfering with your immune system, with all different, your endocrine system, right? Nothing is going to function properly or connect. And you may be, if you have an imbalance in your body and you have pressure in your spine, on your spinal cord, you could be like sympathetic, so like, or like, so you're always on, and then you're making different types of neurotransmitters. So getting adjusted just balances out your nervous system, helps balance out your brain. When you take pressure off your spinal cord, especially in your neck, it allows the cerebral spinal fluid to leave your brain, and there's toxicity in there. And then the new cerebral spinal fluid can get pumped back up there with oxygen and nutrients. Just allows your body to function properly. Right? Regulates everything, your digestion, your sleep, your hormones, overall sense of well-being. Like there's nothing, my children were adjusted the minute they were born, and they get adjusted like every month ever since then. Like 12 and 15. My 15-year-old has never even needed an aspirin. My 12-year-old had pneumonia once and he needed antibiotics, right? I like emergency medicine. I just don't like medicine controlling every single minute of your life. But sometimes you need an emergency, right? And so, but my kids have been getting, adjust a lot of children, a lot of babies, just to keep everything functioning properly. It's always better to prevent a problem than to wait for something to go wrong and try to fix it. You want to prevent it. Getting adjusted before you have a problem, you don't get adjusted for pain. I mean, it helps your pain, but that's not why you get adjusted. You get adjusted so that your brain communicates with your body and your nervous system functions properly. That's really the only reason why. That's why babies come in here and children come get adjusted. Not because they have low back pain, because their body functions properly. That's all you really want. You want to always prevent disease. You want to prevent. It's so much easier and less painful to prevent problems than it is to fix it once you have the problem. But that's why everyone has to get adjusted. And then here's the action steps. Determine your dominant neurotransmitter. Are you out of balance? If you want to schedule a consultation, that's fine, to talk to me about if you're out of balance. Stop eating sugar and gluten. You can start a keto diet. So I've done a bunch of keto workshops, and they're on Facebook and YouTube. You can just watch it. It's just, I explain everything. And you can just also read about it. There's tons of places to read about it. I know that's a fad thing, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's been around for, before modern day, everyone was in ketosis all the time for thousands of years. So you want to maybe find some specific supplements and add some foods to your diet in whichever neurotransmitter you're out of balance, and start balancing things out there. And if you're not a patient, schedule a consultation. And I'll answer questions, yeah.
What do you think about alcohol in moderation?
Alcohol and
Any alcohol?
I think alcohol in moderation, what's moderation? I think the recommendations are maybe a little high. I think maybe a glass of wine every night is actually good for you, if it's good wine, or a little bit of a vodka or something. That's fine. But people, don't overdo it. I mean, a little bit of alcohol, like a little bit of coffee, is like hormesis. It gives your body a good quality stress that your body reacts to in a positive way. So like when you do something that's a little stressful, like exercise, it builds up your muscle, like you respond in a positive way. But if you overdo it, you hurt yourself. So if you drink like half a glass of good organic wine, maybe a cup of coffee a day, organic coffee, you're giving yourself like a good stress that your body is going to respond really positively to. But if you drink a pot of coffee, you're not going to be able to function, or if you drink too much alcohol, obviously. But anything like that in moderation, that's not the same thing as sugar. Sugar is like no moderation with sugar. Maybe not. Maybe later, but not at first. But yeah, a little bit of good quality wine, a little bit of a little alcohol every night is really good for you. Just like a good quality cup of coffee is good for you. I don't do those things. I just don't like them. But I almost wanted to add that to my diet when I learned about all that stuff, because it's really good for you.
Red or white?
In moderation. Probably red. Again, it has to be organic because there's like sulfates and all kinds of crazy chemicals in wine and coffee.
A lot
But
of companies will also add sugar to it.
and they'll they add
So even if it's organic, you want to
Yeah.
Scout and Cellar does clean crafted wine. It's called.
yeah, and also Dry Farms wine. And there's another one.
But beer would be off the table because it's
I think
not
be-
gluten-free.
yeah, beer is just maybe like a little. Maybe just like a half a glass with it, see if you respond well to that. It depends on what you're going on in your body. I'm not going to tell everyone to do that, but men can, okay, here's the thing. Men can handle more than women can handle. Men's bodies, because of testosterone, they can abuse their bodies more and be fine. Men can abuse their bodies more than women, just testosterone. If you have normal testosterone, if you're fit, if a man and his wife go on a diet together, the man just loses all the weight and gets all their medication, and the wife is like, what is going on? It's always they could just do more, and they're just fine. So take that as you will. You could probably drink some beer every night and be fine. I think if you can handle milk, like raw milk is super good for you. If you can't handle milk, then almond milk with nothing added, just almonds and water, or cashew milk with just cashews and water, or coconut milk with just coconut. Like, because otherwise you buy like a container of coconut milk and there's 25 ingredients on it. Whereas you buy a can of coconut milk and it's coconut. That's what you want. Almond milk's the same thing. You can get a container and there's like 5,000 ingredients, or you can just get a little thing. It's like almonds, water. That's it. It's just really what's in it. But that's fine. I just drink raw milk. But I can handle dairy. Some people can't. And I eat a lot of like raw cheese, because raw cheese and raw milk you can safely buy in Connecticut. You can't buy raw butter or raw yogurt. But you can buy raw milk and you can make yogurt if you want. It's fine. Grass-fed yogurt's fine too. Yeah, you're welcome. You can always go back. Thanks.